like in the data center, where there are more risk, right? There is higher risk, I would say, not more risk necessarily, but higher risk if something did happen that would really impact the employee or their families. So making sure that the controls are in place. And it's not just our employees, but also kind of our network and extension to contractors we have. We partner with a number of contractors that help manage and support data centers as well.
Welcome to the Canary Report, the podcast where risk leaders, safety professionals, and operational executives come for real-world stories and smarter strategies to keep people safe. I'm your host, Michael Zalle. In each episode, I sit down with exceptional leaders who are transforming how risk and safety are managed. Whether you're a leader of a nationwide EH&S program in a high-risk industry, or you champion workplace safety across 200 retail locations, this podcast is for you. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Canary Report. I am your host, Michael Zalle, founder and CEO of Yellowbird, the most trusted solution in delivering safety programs nationwide. Joining us today is Jeff Schmitt, Director of Corporate Safety and Health and a global leader at Kyndryl. Jeff brings more than 2 decades of experience leading health and safety programs across semiconductors, manufacturing, research environments, pharmaceutical settings, and higher education, and now in global IT services. He is a career-long safety leader with core strength in building safety management programs. He believes in no risk that is unimportant. Every single human being is important, and every single process is there to help us do our jobs better and more safely. Before I kick this off, I want to just thank Jeff for being here and welcome to our program.
Excellent. Thanks for having me, Michael. Great to be here.
So, Jeff, you and I kicked off by talking about the upcoming vacation that you're going on, and I always like to start off with the human aspects of the people that we're dealing with. At the end of the day, health and safety is about people and safety and humans. And so, tell us a little bit about your family and give us a little preview of what you're about to embark on, because it's so exciting to hear about this journey.
Yeah. So I'm married, have 2 kids. My daughter is 11 and my son is 7. So Maya and Ryan, they keep me busy. They're very active in sports. I do a lot of coaching as well as, basketball, flag football, baseball, all that. And my daughter's very busy in dance. I do not coach or teach that. I leave that for my wife. But yeah, we're busy. We live in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Lots of breweries in Grand Rapids, so we keep busy with the brewery scene and restaurants. And we love to travel. So and it kind of leads to, we got spring break coming up next week, so we have a trip planned to Belize, which we're excited about. And we love exploring new countries, new cultures, and that's one of the reasons why we chose Belize.
Oh, that's fantastic. So when we were speaking about it, you had said that, you've done other trips like this. What other places have you gone besides Belize? I'll talk to you about Belize in a second, but where else have you guys gone?
With the family, with the kids, we've gone to Costa Rica as well. And we've done a few trips with just one of the kids. We've been to Brazil and as well as Portugal with my daughter. So my son lost out on those trips, but there's more to come for sure.
It's fantastic. Now, do you or your wife speak Spanish?
My wife speaks a little bit of Spanish. I can maybe pick out a few words here and there, but she's much better than I am. Not fluent, but good enough.
That's where I am as well. I can usually find the restroom and order a beer. So it's the important things. So Jeff, the reason that you're on with me today, besides just being a great human being and a leader in our industry, is you bring a really interesting background. You spent 20 years at IBM where you were doing their global safety strategy. You implemented ISO transition. You did clean room manufacturing, remote operations. You did a ton of stuff at IBM when you were there. And it's one of the things that sparked our interest now in chatting with you, besides, again, being just a really great guy. So before we get to IBM, tell us a little bit about your journey before that. How did you, where did you go to school? Where did you grow up? And then kind of how did you end up where you are today?
I grew up in a small farming community in mid-Michigan area, a small town called Fowler near Lansing. 1 stoplight, one block downtown. I graduated with 52 people. So everyone knew
Wow.
everyone. From there, I went to Grand Valley State University near Grand Rapids, Michigan. And after graduating, went in the occupational health and safety management field. And then I after Grand Valley, went to New York, spent 10 years in New York, working at IBM. Again, I worked in, started at the base level at a location, semiconductor manufacturing site, to then expanding my role and responsibilities to more regional and country, and then eventually global.
Amazing. You went from a one-stoplight town to New York. How was that? That must have been quite a wake-up call for you when you did have the transition of college, but your college wasn't very large, was it?
Well, my university was about 18 at the time, about 18,000 students, so pretty big. But yeah, it was a good transition, and that was the time to do it in my 20s to get out, experience the world, get out to see New York. I lived for the at least first 7 years out in New York, out near in the Catskill area, so not so much New York City, but still pretty busy. And then the last few years I lived in just north of New York City and in Brooklyn. So it was good to have that experience. And after that, we moved back, met my wife and moved back to where we're from, originally in Michigan. So.
And your wife is from Michigan as well.
Yeah, she actually went to Grand Valley State as well. But we knew of each other while we were at Grand Valley State, but we didn't officially meet until we were in New York. So small world. How big New York is, but it can be a small world.
What a great story, man. What a great story. I love it. So going to kind of your journey at IBM, you started in one role and then you started expanding. Tell us about that, really the things, and specifically in the health and safety space as you were going along this environment, what it looked like from an operations and responsibilities and things like that.
When I started at IBM, again, in a semiconductor manufacturing site, brand new environment for me, right? My eyes were wide open. So I, was very curious, asked a lot of questions. I was fortunate enough to have some good mentors and some good health and safety professionals, experienced professionals that I worked with right out of the gate, which were critical for me, not just to get started in health and safety, but to, grow and excel in health and safety over the years. So, as I learned from different people from different expertises in, whether it's electrical safety, chemical safety, and then, just health and safety management systems, for example, it helped expand my scope from site specific to maybe multiple sites to then states and then across the US and then North America. And then eventually, as you become a subject matter expert yourself, after so many years, you take on more of a larger role, whether that's globally or regionally. So I was fortunate to have a good team, good management, and good colleagues and mentors along the way.
How large was your team throughout that journey? What did your EHS, direct reports or at least, your organization look like toward the end of that?
When I started the team, just at the one site I was at, was a team of, I believe, around 15. Globally, IBM, large company, had over 100 health and safety professionals, and then a network of support as well. But that's kind of where I started with a team just specific to the manufacturing site that I worked at.
Got it. Now that network of support, are these external resources that are contract, like professional services kind of things?
A little bit of both. We had in-source and outsource support. Again, global company, lots of, I think IBM at the time had over 300,000 employees. So expanding across pretty much most countries.
Well, it's funny. I speak with a lot of leaders like yourself that have very, very large organizations, and the de facto usually is, we have a lot of people we're fine. I've got 100 people that in our EHS team. And I always say, well, how many employees are you responsible for? And they'll 300,000. I'm like, you need help. You'll always need help, because 100 sounds like a really big organization until you realize it's the health and safety of 300,000. And then the network underneath them of suppliers and support and customers and so forth. It does take a village in this industry. So I have here that you actually took on the process during that journey of going from OHSAS 18,000 to being an ISO 45001 organization. How long did that take you to put that framework and actually roll out that transition?
So I wouldn't say I was the one that put it in place at IBM. I helped put it in place at Kyndryl.
Yeah, tell us about Kyndryl.
Yeah, about Kyndryl. So yeah, when we spun off of IBM, our ISO 45001 certification did not carry over from IBM. So essentially we were wouldn't say we started from scratch. To build up our health and safety management system, we had some good pieces in place, but we had to essentially go through the whole process again, gap analysis, check what programs and processes we have to make sure we're aligned with the standard. Again, like I said, we had a pretty good base in place. We understood the risks with this new stand-up company of Kyndryl, which was in 2021. So it did take a couple of years, and this is developing stakeholder relationships, developing leadership commitment from which we had it very strong from the beginning from our leaders, and just having employee engagement as well, participation in our programs. Like you had mentioned earlier, you may have 100 or so health and safety professionals. They're really not the ones doing all the work, right? If the system really works, the employees are doing the right thing, right? Their leaders are doing the right thing and committed to health and safety as well. So it's really, like you said, it's a village. Well, it's not just the health and safety team village. It's the entire corporation and company. So
absolutely. And I think that is the through line of our industry. And people don't realize that health and safety is an industry and it is its own thing. And no matter where you are, what you're doing, it takes more than us. It takes everybody working together in processes and procedures and frankly, and accountability, but not with a stick. Obviously, that's the wrong. If you need it, it's the wrong way of doing it. So Kyndryl was actually a spinoff of IBM. Is that correct?
Yep, Kyndryl spun off in 2021 from IBM, and it seems just like yesterday, but it's 5 years later and still going strong.
You are still dealing with the same people and some of the same processes, but you had to deal with the different dynamic of being outside the mothership, as the case may be.
So Kyndryl was within IBM. It was kind of one business unit. IBM had lots of different business units, including semiconductor manufacturing. So the risks that were part of semiconductors manufacturing or research that stayed with IBM. So that did not come over to Kyndryl. So the IT infrastructure services component, that was the business unit that is now Kyndryl. So kind of the risks were a little bit different than kind of, the total that was with IBM. So that was part of kind of readjusting to our focus to what specifically the needs and opportunities were for Kyndryl based on the risk.
Okay. Because we kind of jumped over it a little bit. So tell us about Kyndryl as an organization. It's obviously it's an IT services company, but you were giving me an articulate answer before we started, and I stopped you because I'm like, I want our listeners to hear this because I was unfamiliar, candidly, and I'm sure a lot of folks are. So tell us about Kyndryl and what y'all do.
Kyndryl is a global IT infrastructure services provider. They build, design, manage, and modernize enterprise IT systems. So think about it and it is the largest IT infrastructure services company globally, and we span across over 60 countries. So, but think about some of the core services that Kyndryl provides, from mainframe, core and Z cloud services, building out cloud computing, cloud services for companies. Cybersecurity is key in the news nowadays. So security and resiliency, network and edge computing, and applications AI. That's another big piece that I think everyone knows about AI, especially now in the health and safety field. So Kyndryl helps support. Those are kind of the core services that Kyndryl helps support. Large companies that pretty much all large companies rely on data, rely on IT infrastructure to support their business.
Interesting. Now, do you actually build and operate data centers specifically, or do you take on, or is that a different area of the industry?
We may help manage them, maybe depending on the customer, but we don't necessarily build them.
Got it. So what kind of risk factors do you contend with? Like, as you think, I would like to say, keeping you up at night, there's small risks that we all have, ergonomics and slip, trip, and falls and things like that. And then there's the big boys, the electrical, fall from heights, transference of power and so forth. So what are the big things in your space that are just front of mind, not necessarily keeping you up because you have a good program, but front of mind to make sure that you're running them well.
Majority of our Kyndryl worker and population is remote, work from home, or remote, maybe working at customer locations. But we do have some that work in data centers or at time to time in data centers supporting customers. So everyone, like ergonomics, slip, trip, falls, yes, that's across the board. But the things that I worry about, make sure we have the right controls in place, include kind of those environments that maybe we, like in the data center, where there are more risk, right? There is higher risk, I would say, not more risk necessarily, but higher risk if something did happen that would really impact the employee or and their families. So making sure that the controls are in place, and it's not just our employees, but also kind of our network and extension to contractors we have. We partner with a number of contractors to help manage and support data centers as well. So making sure we have the right procedures, policies, and culture in place to help support that and minimize the risk.
Yeah, we are actually one of those contractors, and so I do understand that very well. I mean, Yellowbird actually contracts for health and safety programs, but putting people out into the field and having occupational risk and unknown hazards at times when you're putting, an individual to go out to a location, and an unknown location is always a challenge. I can emphasize and sympathize with that as always being a challenging environment. For your EHS program management side, do you use a proprietary program? What do you guys do just for tracking all of your? You said you're in 60 countries, for goodness sakes. So, how do you manage all that?
It's a challenge. We have an internal system and program. Some of it, and this is the challenging part, some of it's manual, some of it's baked into a system that we have internally. But yeah, with a number of different service contractors and outsourcing arrangements in different countries, that's one of the challenges, collecting all that data. That's a lot of insight and knowledge that can help direct our actions or our focus areas as part of our management system. So, but yeah, we have, from an incident tracking mechanism, we have an internal mechanism to do that.
And how involved are you on the insurance side of the house? Some organizations go through legal and operations and administration, and some put it onto the EHS and the environment, the health and safety team. Are you involved on the insurance side, loss control and things to that effect, or are you blessed to not have to deal with that?
Well, we partner. We have a risk insurance management group, so we partner closely with them. But mostly with the insurance piece, it's a different team than us, but we do work closely with them.
Got it. And so do they, as they're trying to gather metrics and things like that, they come to you to kind of help them understand risk profiles and things to that effect?
Correct. Yeah. And same thing with our kind of the facility side of thing. Our real estate function has a kind of their own insurance provider from a asset protection, but some of it is overlapped with from a employee health and safety protection as well.
The teams that you have all over the world, they're generally in a client's facility and so forth. How do you integrate with that client's health and safety practices? Is it challenging or do you have your folks abide by your policies and procedures, regardless of where they are? Like how does that, I imagine that can be complex.
For the employees that do work at customer locations, and it may not be full-time, maybe it's just on a project-based as well. First, we want to make sure they meet the criteria and requirements from our health and safety culture, training and whatnot. So that aligns from, across the board for all Kyndryl employees. And then it's really the customer, we call them customer exec, that has the account for the customer. They work on what's included in the account as far as what the requirements are that need to be met on the customer side as well. So they may need to take, for example, our training as well as their training and awareness of, what the requirements are for their location. That's where the risk is. So we want to make sure that they're aware and educated on what the risk is at the customer location. So, and there's mechanisms if something comes up or, raise a concern or issue, there's mechanisms in place to allow that employee to do that, both for the customer and within Kyndryl.
So going on back to just your personal journey and so forth, I know one of the things is already an answer for me, because you are willing to take these international and other location journeys without, you say you don't use tour guides, you design it yourself and you go out and do it, which is a huge adventure. And I love that. Do you do anything else? Do you have any hobbies or anything? There's been a through line in many of my podcasts that there have been folks that have kind of not the lowest risk adventures that they like to do in their own personal lives. I've had race car drivers and motorcyclists and all kinds of things. So do you have any interesting hobbies that are noteworthy?
I would say it's calculated risk, right? So in the work environment, it's like, okay, you're really risk adverse from one point of view, but in the personal life, it is, I want to convey that kind of the same values to my kids too. But some of my hobbies, I would say it's not as risky. I love to golf. I love sports. Even, I love basketball. But from a risk perspective, I have to pull back from playing basketball. I've torn both my Achilles playing basketball. So from a risk perspective, that comes with age. But yeah, I loved sports. Loved it. Played sports all my life: football, baseball, basketball. I try to instill that in my kids too. Just one, to stay active, stay healthy.
My daughter is also a dancer, just so you know. She is 16, going just about 17, and she was dancing from the time she was your daughter's age, and then even well before. And I'll tell you what, there's nothing that keeps you in better shape than, I would put her against any football player out there as far as just the ability to take just physical, training is insane. So, by the way, I'm a golfer as well. And besides hitting it off an occasional tree and having to duck, the risk is relatively low.
Yeah, exactly.
maybe a rattlesnake in Phoenix, in Scottsdale. But,
yeah, more of the risk is probably with the friends that you're with, or, the trouble you can get into.
Absolutely. Well, Jeff, I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for joining me. And I hope that everybody has learned something from this discussion. Is there anything else that you would like to cover before we wrap that you feel is, exciting that you'd like to discuss?
One of the themes that I can see, again, it's helped me in my career and it's helped me with my global team now is around having a plan and playbook. Essentially, our health and safety management system is our playbook, right? So that's our guide. That's our North Star to direct us to be able to continuously improve. In the health and safety field, if you're new to it, if you've been in it for 20 years, 30 years, always be curious, always have that opportunity to improve. And really that having a strong management system helps do that. And we talked a lot about my family. It's important to also have a management system at home too. It may not look exactly the same as in the workplace, but it's important to have that. And that's where we can then determine what vacations we go on, what resources or budget we have to go on what vacations, and get feedback and input from my kids. My son said he doesn't want to go swimming this time. Right. I think that's just an important piece from, whether again at home or in the workplace, to make sure you have a strong management system, which again, supported by leadership and employees.
I think that is a wonderful lesson for all of us. And frankly, too many people are willy-nilly in their worlds, not having a plan, not having a process. And the better you can process things, the better you feel about being in control of whatever it is you're trying to achieve. And without it, it does feel like you're a little bit of in a tornado. And so I think that's a really beautiful message, and one that's important, not just for EHS, but for any of our listeners.
And you can adapt to change as it happens, right? And adapt to any type of risk with it.
Absolutely. All right, Jeff. Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you on the golf course.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
That's it for today's episode of the Canary Report. If this conversation helped you reframe how you think about risk and safety, please do me a favor. Hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody who needs to hear it. We're building a new category of safety and risk leadership, one that's faster and smarter. Leaders who aren't just empowered by tech, but whose wisdom is accelerated by it. To learn more about how Yellowbird's cutting-edge platform is empowering leaders to solve workplace safety and risk challenges faster, smarter, and at scale, visit goyellowbird.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Yellowbird pages to stay up to date. Until next time, lead with clarity, know first, and act fast.